The Icons of Real Estate Podcast. Are you ready to learn the proven money-making secrets from top-producing Icon agents? Ready to skyrocket your business? This podcast is for you. Tune in every week with your host, Tomasz Fonseca, and find out how to implement proven strategies to 10 times your business, from $3 million to $30 million in just 12 months. Brought to you by the Masters in Real Estate Marketing, Arter SEO.
So welcome to another episode of the Icons of Real Estate podcast, where we highlight top professionals who are making waves in the industry. I'm your host, Karen Roberts, and today I'm excited to introduce Matthew Krinzman. Now, he is a highly experienced real estate agent and broker associate with over 20 years in South Florida market. So he's been a lifelong resident, so he really knows the area. He has a very unique perspective on the region's evolution from a retirement and vacation spot to a bustling metropolitan hub. So that makes him invaluable as a resource for buyers and sellers. So his expertise spans a wide range of property types, from single-family homes to multi-tenant office buildings, always prioritizing his clients' best interests. So let's dive into his journey and insights. Welcome to the show, Matthew.
Hey, thank you for having me. Appreciate being here. Hopefully now we have our audio issues resolved. So that's a big step forward for us.
So would you like to share with the audience a little bit about, what inspired you initially to pursue a career in real estate, especially in the dynamic South Florida market?
The real simple answer is that I didn't want to go to law school. So that's the real simple answer to that. I disappointed my mother tremendously by not going to law school. Just wasn't for me. It was a decision I made. And, I grew up in and around real estate. Here, my father was in it, as a broker for an extended period of his life. My brothers are real estate attorneys locally here. Most of my friends that I grew up with, their family or them themselves are now in real estate or grew up in real estate. So in South Florida especially, it was real estate's a huge component of our industry or our economy here. And so I decided, I don't know if I think I was 26 years old at the time. 25 to go into the business, which was very different then. And, and one of the reasons why I went to it is because other than not going to law school is that someone told me I was going to go into sales. I wanted to either go into financial sales, as a financial planner, stockbroker type business. And someone said, sell something that people need, and people need shelter. People need a place to live. And real estate does obviously solve that issue. Either, by buying and selling real estate or investing in it or even leasing it. So that's how I got into it. That was it.
And I bet you don't regret going to law school.
Yeah, I'm happy. If I wasn't happy, I wouldn't be doing this for such a long time. Right.
Absolutely. And
I have plenty of friends who went to law, and a few of them left law very quickly, or after staying a period of time, and said, "Hey, we were just burnt out on it," and they call themselves recovering attorneys or recovering lawyers, and they've gone into real estate themselves in some capacity.
There you go. So it was definitely the best step to take. So you've been a lifelong resident of South Florida. So how has witnessing the region's total transformation, how has that influenced your approach to real estate?
That's a great question. Well, growing up here, I grew up in a town called Sunny Isles Beach, which at the time when I was growing up was not even a town yet. Had not even been incorporated into a city. It's now a city. It's been a city for 20 plus years. It was known as the Motel Row area of Miami-Dade County, just north of Miami Beach and just south of Fort Lauderdale. And it was a very sleepy area. And most of the residents were either retirees or we call them snowbirds. And most of the beachfront was inhabited by motels, maybe 4 stories at most. And growing up, it was great because you have run of the area. But, eventually toward the late 80s and into the 90s, those motels started getting bought up and redeveloped into high-rise luxury buildings. And once the city incorporated, it became a very friendly neighborhood to developers to build these high rises. And Sunny Isles itself, there's maybe two left of the motels at this point, and it's a 2 square mile area, and now you're inhabited by these high rises that stretch out to 50 stories. We have some of the most luxurious buildings in all of South Florida, and in fact, maybe the United States. Here, where you have buildings with the Porsche design building, and you have Armani, and you're going to have a St. Regis that's starting to under construction. So these are super luxury brand names that are associated with the buildings and the developers, and you're looking at prices well into the $2,000 plus a square foot, on pre-construction. And so now it's gone from a very affordable neighborhood to a super luxury neighborhood. And that's
Right.
one of the biggest transformations in South Florida is Sunny Isles Beach.
Wow. And so you must have seen, so many changes over the years. So with your 20 years of experience, what would you say has been the most rewarding aspect of building a business driven by repeat clients and referrals? Because this is how you've built your whole business.
Yeah, a great part of it is, over the years, I've been fortunate to have, people and friends and family and other past clients and customers refer me business, because I think I do a pretty good job of what I do as far as handling either the seller or the buyers in the process. I always say, like, my job, and I think the job of real estate agents in general, is to relieve the stress of buying and selling real estate for their customers or clients, however you want to use whatever term you want to use for that. It's a stressful process for both sellers and buyers, and I think having a expert or someone to guide them through the process from A to Z, and really taking the stress and the load off them from the negotiations to even once you get past the negotiations and you're in contract and inspections and everything that comes along with that, and things that may pop up, appraisals that may not appraise, and how do you deal with that? And how do you renegotiate those things? Or if an inspection, the house is not great, there's something wrong. How do you go back and reopen the negotiations with the seller or the buyer to get the deal done and just keep it moving along? And also, I have a trusted group of partners, or I like the service partners, that I have, from my inspector to my roof guy to my plumber to my AC, my handyman, that I all rely on. And I like to use them to help my buyers and sellers in the process, because, hey, I've known these people for a long time. I have a great Rolodex of service providers that also help, along with the process of, for the buyers and sellers to get the deals done and look out for their best interests.
So they're gaining not just from you, but from your whole support network as well.
Absolutely. As someone always asks me, like, hey, do you have an inspector? I said, I know a few. Yeah. And I have I have my top three. And I find that, for instance, depending on the type of buyer, if it's a first time buyer, I got the guy. I have the inspector who will hold their hand all the way through, show them everything that goes on with the house. And then you have the experienced investor who doesn't need to be handheld, but you have that. There's different personas for different people and different types. So you have to, you want to get that right person to help the process, and help the persons who are buying and selling, because you want to know someone's looking out for their best interests, right? And from the insurance broker that I have, I trust immensely, and I will send him the insurance reports that we get when we do the inspections, and he immediately looks at it and will say, hey, here's the issues with the house. This is what underwriting is going to be looking for. This is what you need to do to get it better, to get a better rate. And, also, explain to the buyer, and, well, hey, this is what you need to do in your insurance. This is the best insurance plan. And it just goes down the line from the AC to the plumbing guy, my handyman.
Yeah.
It's just trusted people in my Rolodex.
Yeah.
Which for people who don't know what a Rolodex is nowadays, it's a,
yeah.
yeah, it's an old term,
Yeah.
but it's like your phone basically, but it's old school.
But it's filled up with very handy names that you can call on within your network. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a competitive market, right? South Florida.
Absolutely.
So how do you stay ahead and what strategies have been key to your continued success?
Wow. My strategies have always been just to deliver top service to my clients. And I deliver on service, really. And I think we're a service industry, and you want to differentiate yourself from the other agents who just want to, like, I guess when I call it churn and burn, get the deal done and then move on. And it's a relationship business that we're in, and you have to maintain those relationships. And, look, I'm not, by no means am I some expert, right? And the best at doing anything, and I've always constantly trying to learn and do better as an agent and add things to myself or to my business that I have not done before. And, I think something that I've done this past year is I've added coaching to my business, where I'm getting coached by an expert, by someone helping me. And that means I'm not beyond learning at this point in my life, and I said to myself this year, I said, hey, I look at it, how do I improve myself to be a better real estate agent to my base, my customers, my clients, or future clients? Yeah, let's learn something. Let's open up the books. Let's open up my mind and say, be, I guess, cognizant enough to, I need improvement for things that I need to do for myself and for my buyers and sellers to improve and expand my business. And, coaching has definitely been something that I've added to myself, which I like. And it's helped me, I think, a lot this past year.
Brilliant. And that is coming from somebody who's been 20 years in the industry. So it just goes to show that never stop learning, because there's always something to improve on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And because especially the way the industry, it's like, look, before when I started, it was very easy. It wasn't necessarily easy, but there was fewer agents. The business was a lot different. We didn't have this. When I started, I may have had a cell phone, but you couldn't use it really because of minutes or whatever, and you had to wait certain hours. So I ran around with a lot of quarters in my pockets, and the difference then was that people did answer their phones, and I think the business has kind of gone away from that in some ways, where accessibility and people are. I pride myself in answering my phone, and still having a little bit of that old school mentality to the business. But at the same time, not saying, hey, I may be old school, but there's time to improve so I can catch up or be ahead of the curve for what's going on now. And technology has definitely changed all that for us.
Yeah. But then you're bringing both sides to the table. You still got the old school values, and and people know that you're going to be on hand to answer your phone if they need you. So it's a good combo. It's a good combo.
Yeah.
So everybody we speak to, everybody has said this year has been a fairly challenging year. So what have things been like where you are in your part of Florida? How many sort of transactions did you do, say, last year compared to this year?
It's a great question. That's actually something I'm going over with my coach right now, looking at the past year, the overlook of actually going back 5 years to see where things have been. This year I'm at somewhere around 17 transactions in total. That's sales,
Brilliant.
Buy side, and also including leases, on property, for residential leases. And the big difference, obviously, is for us is what the NAR, like I'm sure you've heard about, and you've spoken to plenty of other agents, is the NAR settlement. That's the biggest difference in our business right now, and that is added a few wrinkles, but at the same time, you get past it, you learn from it, you learn how to deal with it, you learn how to negotiate it, you learn how to present it to both the buyers and the sellers, and if you've had good training, and I think I've been fortunate to be with a company that really did a great job of training us, with at One Sotheby's International Realty, we were ahead of the curve. I think a lot where it helped us as agents, because we have a management that decided, hey, we're going to get ahead of this. We're going to start training everyone. And plus, I think the coaching that I'm doing helps in that. So that's been the biggest wrinkle to our business.
Mm-hmm.
As far as numbers, stats, I don't think I'm down from last year. I haven't, at the
Oh,
moment, I think I'm
wow.
pretty much even. Um, as far as transactions goes, maybe dollar amount, maybe that's where the difference, you have some differences.
Right.
But
So you've not struggled too much then this year. That's amazing because yeah, a lot of people have seen a downturn. So what's next for Matthew then? What are your goals for next year?
next year, do better. Have do more.
Always.
Always, and I think really it's for me is where I mentioned the coaching is to continue that and help improve myself and look to where I can do better as an agent. And I'm a solo agent, and I've been a control freak as a solo agent my whole career. And getting where now I'm like, maybe I don't need to be.
Maybe.
Maybe I don't have to deal with such much of the minutia of things that get bogged down in the transaction or keep me from expanding my business. And I think that's really my goal now is to either add, through a virtual assistant or something like that, or be able to hand off to another agent and say, hey, let's work with me on this. You do this, I'll do this part of the transaction, and I've done that a bit this year where I've been starting to, on certain transactions or certain deals or listings I've had, said, hey, I brought in another agent, said, look, I'm good at this, you're good at this. You do that, I'll do, what I'm good at, you do what you're good at in this transaction, and we'll get the deal done and we'll get it sold, and we'll go from there and get hopefully another transaction out of it from either the buyer or the seller, or get a referral. And that does work. So my goal
Mhm.
is to give up control, I think, in some way.
Ah,
You were, like I said, yeah, just give up control where I want to not be so controlling of
right.
my
So
business.
that you can
And
grow, so that you can
right,
expand. Love
that's a
that.
key.
So
Yeah, yeah,
that's the key. That's got to be the
yeah,
key. Otherwise, you can't scale, can you?
exactly. Yeah, and
So,
that's look, I'm like I said, I've been in the business a long time, and this just proves that you're not too old or in the business too long to
mhm.
improve or say, hey, you know what? Yeah, I'm good at things, but I really could be better at what I'm doing. And that's the key. I think that's really where the flight switch flipped on. It may be because of the NAR
Right.
settlement. That could be part of it. Where it's like, I'm looking, I'm like, all right, business is changing. Those of us who are good
Mm.
at it will succeed, but let's be better, so you can even grow more and be a better asset to, to sellers and buyers.
Yes, definitely. Sometimes when these things come and initially it is a big negative. However,
Yeah.
sometimes it makes you look at your own business and change things around so it can be better. So great
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, it's innovate. I
Great
guess
stuff.
it's a type of innovation, right? It's a form
Yeah.
of innovation where you just do better, really.
Yeah.
It
And you've been
forces us
forced
to do
into it.
better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
Which
You've
is
been
fine,
forced
which
into
I
it.
think is fine, which also it helps, you know, weed out those who are not in it for the maybe just because they're thinking it's a quick buck, but they don't really realize it's a business. You're running a business day to day, week to week, day, month to month, year to year, and you have to go, goal set. And that's something I probably didn't do well either at first. But now, like let's get a 5-year plan. Whereas, when I'm 56 or 57, I can start thinking seriously about retiring or doing or handing off what I'm doing to someone else.
There you go. Oh, he's planning his exit strategy already.
Yeah, I have.
Awesome. So, look, the last question is always the same. Here at Icons, we're not just a podcast, we're a podcast network. We are the number one real estate podcast network globally. So, we want to make it accessible for all real estate agents for podcasting. So,
Yeah.
our last question is always the same. If you had your own podcast, what would you call it?
Oh man, I knew that question was going to come up, and I should have done a better job of thinking about it. At least run it through ChatGPT and say, "Hey, ChatGPT, come up with a name for me." But oh man, my nickname is the Crins.
Is the Crins?
The Crins.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
maybe it would be like the Crins on real estate or something like that. That's always been my nickname since I'm a kid,
Great.
and it still holds to this day. So yeah, called the
Well, that's
Crins on
good
real
because it's
estate.
it's it's all about aligning it with you. Fantastic.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
if the listeners are, I'd like to know more about buying or selling in South Florida, how do they reach you? Where do they get in touch with you?
Well, I have my website. It's buysellmiamire.com. Or you can get at me on my phone, really. 305-303-8131. Matthew Krinzman, broker associate at One Sotheby's International Realty. That's how you can find me. I'll
Excellent.
answer.
Well, and he'll answer, and he'll answer. So thank you so much for your time today. It's been great chatting to you. And
Thanks.
well, to the listeners, I'll be back next time with the
All right.
Icons of Real Estate podcast. Bye for now.
Thank you.